Have you ever felt like your retriever might not turn out like you hoped for it to? We get it. The truth is, training a retriever isn't simple, but it doesn't have to be hard. On the Build From Here podcast, you're going to hear real stories from real people who used to be stuck with their retrievers, but are now confident they're on the right path to training their dog successfully. Welcome to the Build From Here podcast. On this episode, it is my great honor to be introducing you to CGA member Heath Tatum. When Heath sent in his story, it I actually forgot totally about this, but it was pretty cool how he had mentioned that, he wasn't even really looking for anything, of course, but he had heard about it from somewhere. And then we had actually talked, when we were on our way back from vacation. And I love those little stories because I always tell people those first conversations I have with someone when it's their first time getting into this thing, it's exciting because one day we're probably going to be in a situation like where we're at right here. And now Heath's got a dog that he's proud of. He's done some amazing work with it. He's in this stage of life where he's got kids in college, but he's got this dog and this family that, the dog's part of the family and he just gets to enjoy it. So, it means so much to me to be able to hear someone be successful with their dog and see how they've been successful, overcome the challenges and get to where they want to be. And so I'm just excited to bring him on here, guys, and introduce you to him. Welcome aboard, Heath. How are you?
Doing good. Glad to be here. Happy to be here. And I love talking dogs. I mean, I like being around dogs, like training dogs, working dogs, hunting dogs. It's just, it's a whole different aspect of hunting when you have a dog involved, and then when it's your dog, you train that dog, and then you get to see the dog do what you put so much time in. There's really no feeling like that you're like, hey, they really pulled this off. And then you're like, well, I reckon we pulled it off, because through the training, you're like, man, I'm never going to get there. And especially with this program, I've trained dogs in the past. A little background, I went to Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College in Tifton, Georgia. Graduated there with a forestry and wildlife degree. Went to work on several plantations up in middle Georgia. And had trained dogs under or alongside other people. And we're talking late 90s. And it wasn't a course, it was just what you did. It was rigid. It was a lot of collar training because that's all we knew. I mean, that's what we did. And I got out of dogs for a good little while. I bounced around on several plantations. And then I decided my daughter wanted a dog way back. And I said I wouldn't get back into no dogs. That's a lot of work, a lot of time. So we got her dog, and he was a male, chocolate male, good dog, smart dog. At about just before he turned 2, he tore his cruciate ligament. So we was moving along good, and they said, the doctors told me that you ain't got many options. You can amputate or do surgery. I'm like, wow. And my daughter, she's at this time like 10, and she's like, you're going to fix him, ain't you, Daddy? Yeah, I'm going to fix him. So, and they said, you got a 90% chance, 80 to 90% chance he's going to tear the other one. So we went through the rehab. 6 months of rehab. You got a 2-year-old male lab in a crate for 6 months. You can put him on a leash, carry him out to the bathroom, put him back in the crate. So he's going stir crazy. I got him in the shop. I kept him there. We're just in there doing whatever. Kept him tied to a four-wheeler so he couldn't jump or run. He was just in there with me, and we were scheduled. This was on a Sunday night. He was scheduled to go for his final checkup Tuesday. Surgery went great. Everything's good. I had him over on a place board. I said, come on, buddy. He stood up, and his good leg slipped off the place board. He yelped and sat down. I said, you got to be kidding me. So I went to the checkup, told him, I said, check that leg. He said, yeah, he tore the other one because all that weight has been on that other leg all this time. I said, well, fix him.
Wow.
So then with him, now to tell, we were doing at the time when he tore his first one, I had a guy out there throwing bumpers, about 100, 125 yards. He's throwing the bumper, I'm shooting. He's done acclimated to gunfire and all that. He's going, retrieving, and when he took off, I shot, then I seen him. He took off, made it about 20 yards when he tore the first one. Okay, so I didn't think none of it, a big deal. I rehabbed him for a year, both legs is 6 months. And when I got him back out, got him rehab good, he's going. Now, I was just going to pick up where, I went back through some stuff, brushed him up. Then I went back out there shooting. He don't run off. When you shoot, he'll sit down. The last thing in his mind is, I heard a shot. I went through a year of rehab with 2 surgeries. Now I can make him retrieve.
Oh no!
But if it's a 10-yard retrieve or a 110-yard retrieve, he's gonna walk the whole way. He'll walk out there, pick it up, walk back. If you don't have a gun out there, he's wide open. He could do anything you want him to do. So when all that happened, it was kind of in the midst of that. There were some dogs I had hunted with previous. I knew they was having a litter. I said, I like that line, I like that litter. I'm going to get a puppy. Because I didn't know this was when he's rehabbing. I said, I don't know if I'm going to get him back or not. He may be a couch dog.
Right.
So I went on and bought the puppy. And I thought, I got this puppy. I got him now. I got to train out some major problems. I said, I need some help. Because all I had ever done was, a lot of collar training, a lot of rigid, just whatever books or videos I could get a hold of way back then. And then I was just looking at YouTube videos one night and somebody mentioned y'all. I don't know. I said, well, there's a program. So I got to looking at it. And I said, well, I got him that's in this shape. I got a new puppy. I got to find me a time frame. I got to get me a program I can follow with 2 different age dogs, and one's got major problems, and we got to get this puppy from puppy to on through the program. So then that's when I called you, and I said, well, let me check this thing out. You answered. That surprised me to start with. I said, well, he put a number down there and he answered. I said, so it must be pretty legit. And then after we talked, I kind of liked what I heard and then researched it some and then decided to buy it. And it's been phenomenal, especially with two different age dogs that you can pick up on one. Now, I've not got him completely through all that, but because being able to time frame stuff with the program, I think he's a whole lot further along than where he would be with me with no, and that's when I said, man, I got to have some help. I got me in some problems I can't train my way out of. I just didn't have the knowledge to train. And, you hear the thing that if a dog's ever gun shy, you'll never get it out of them. I disagree with that. Any dog can be trained. Now, why most trainers say that is because they don't have the time or don't want to put the time because they've got other clients' dogs there, or the client don't want to spend the money that it's going to have to take to keep that dog there that long. So with both of them coming on, I said, I got to get something. I found y'all's program, and it's been a game changer as far as the step by step, the time to get it all done. Now the female Oakley,
that's
the
awesome.
one that now she's phenomenal. She's gonna be she just turned 3, and she's gonna be a good dog. She's gonna be there.
That's amazing. Yeah, that you put 2 through it. Let's kind of rewind a little bit back to the 90s when you were first getting into this. So you're in Georgia, southern mid Georgia, somewhere down through there. Hunting, is that something you grew up doing? Is that, or is that just something you started doing in college? What's the story there?
I grew up hunting with my grandfather and our family. We done mostly dove hunt. He loved to dove hunt, so that's kind of where I got into dove hunting. And the type of work that my family did, we put in underground drainage pipes for farmers. So we had access to immense piles of land, and we could dove hunt every weekend. And that's where I got started. I did not start deer hunting really until college or later. And I got into that part, and that's what kind of got me away from the dogs. I really got into deer hunting and just went full bore into bow hunting. And then that is, then when the dogs come back along, I kind of got away from bow hunting as much and got back into dogs. But that's kind of how I got and I kind of done the deer hunting on my own. None of my family really deer hunted that much. I just kind of got into it on my own.
Okay. So getting into the dogs and all that, let's walk through your story with Cornerstone. So obviously we trained a little different than maybe what you had trained with the past. How was that coming into that, experiencing this different way of training, and how did that unfold for you?
I had never really even heard of a click or treat training. I just, you just keep doing the way I was doing it. You just keep doing a drill or keep doing something until the dog decides it's going to catch on, or you use a collar enough to calm it down. And I never really liked that type of training. It was successful. In all intents and purposes, I just never really liked it. It was, I say it was rigid. Now with the Cornerstone, I like the click and treat. You get a whole lot more responses. There's some trainers out there that don't do treat training. That's fine too. But with the limited time I had with the family, a girl and playing travel ball, going to college, or still in high school and then going to college, the treat training speeds up the process to a pretty good degree. You can move along a little faster. And then the step-by-step that y'all have in your program, and let me say this in here too, I like your program. Now, you may not like this. When you showed struggles with ballot, it's not a program that you get, and it's just, all the YouTube videos you see is, this dog knows how to do this. Okay, that's great. That's wonderful. How'd you get there? When you hit a struggle, how'd you train your way out of this? And I like seeing the struggles with Violet because I'm like, okay, now what does he do from here? What did you do from here? And that was something I never had, that once you train your way in a problem, okay, evidently you did something wrong, or you missed something, or the dog was trying to tell you something you missed. And now how do I get out of this? I trained something in, I got to train it out. Now how do I do that? And that's where I always got frustrated, stuck, whatever. But I like watching your step by step. And if you struggled, you told, hey, okay, this is what's happening right here. We got this struggle. Let's back up, or Let's do something different. And then, and like I say, I think I told you before that you got to keep in your mind it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Because if you try to rush through this thing, you're gonna have a lot of holes in your training and a lot of holes in the dog. Now, can the dog do it? Yeah, but is it the best way? Probably not. And
yeah, so that's something that's important to you is the quality of your dog, not just does your dog do it, because I want to hit on that really quick because that's just important what you said. So many people are out there, just let me get my dog hunting. I just want to take my dog hunting, and they're missing so much along the way that if you take your time and you do it right, the quality of your dog is so much better. And a lot of times I don't think people even realize what's possible because they just don't know any better. Let me ask this from you. I'm just curious, coming from the rigid way of training to the easier way of training that we use with Cornerstone, what is that kind of the same story that you faced? Were there holes in the dogs before, or is it just more of the attitude of the dog just wasn't exactly kind of what you're used to now?
Well, I don't know if there was holes in there because you can get it out, but it didn't always seem. Now the dog enjoyed the hunting. The dog enjoyed the retrieving, but it didn't always seem to me the dog was having fun. The dog was doing the job, but was it having fun doing it? Where with y'all's program, it always seems like the dogs enjoyed what we're doing. And you can tell that once it, because all dogs are a little different, but once they start to shut down, okay, you've went a little too far, and now you're going to pay the price for it. So you got to learn to read them, that they're going. It just always seemed everything y'all did was fun and very low pressure. You can pressure somebody or even a person. You can pressure a person, pressure a dog into doing something. They may do it. It's like a 10-year-old kid, 7-year-old kid. I'm going to do it, but I'm not liking this. Whereas y'all's program, it always seemed like the dog was enjoying what they're doing without the pressure. Now, do I use a collar? Yeah. I got some, she's been collar, or both of them been collar conditioned, and I think it's important. And I use it as a long leash. That's the only time I ever have to, what I'm saying is if they're fixing to get into something, some danger, or I can get their attention and get them back to me, like right now. They got, great recall, but sometimes a dog is a dog.
Yeah, I think what we're kind of talking about, I like the theme where you're going, and, there's nothing wrong with an e-collar if you use it properly and use it right. And there's different ways to use it right, but when we start talking about what we're looking for, that general theme of this dog does it because it wants to, not because it has to. That's right. A totally different animal. And I always think about it like this. I mean, the truth is, it's amazing what people and animals do when they really want to. They have no problem doing it if they really want to do it.
That's right.
I think about this all the time, like with my kids and everything. It's like, I can tell you, like you said, I can tell you to do this and put pressure on you to do this. Or if you do it because you really want to, that's a much better place. Now that does pose challenges. Okay, well, how on earth are we going to get a dog to do this because it wants to? And I think that's kind of where our whole system and process basically makes it happen as you go. But it's just a different approach. Instead of thinking pressure first, we're thinking about it from the dog's perspective. How can we help the dog win? What's been, for you along the journey or the week by week with Violet? I would love to just know, actually, let me ask this and then we'll get into that. So when you started with you started Cornerstone with your first dog, not with this 3-year-old dog.
No, I started
Is that right?
Well, kind of with the first dog.
Or you started with a 3-year-old dog?
I didn't start. I started with my male lab after he was 2 years old, after I had those problems and then had the puppy coming in. So she started as a puppy. He started at 2 years old, which I had the foundation in him.
That's cool.
But I was just having to move him further. And I said, well, I got this puppy too. Let's go with it and let's put them both on it. And that's kind of where I started with them.
Okay. So as you went through the process, what, was there any stumbling blocks where you hit like that? Because especially if you've come from a different background of training, when you start trying to train our method, that sometimes can create a conflict. It can be a little challenging to work through those barriers. Or was things reasonably smooth for you? Or was there any like, hey, you had to work around until you finally realized, oh, this is how I get my dog to want to do it, not have to do it?
I say yes, but then when me as a person and the trainer, when I would slow down and say, wait a minute, let's trust the process. I don't think the dog had as much trouble as I did, because with a puppy, when you're starting, there's just days there that you're gonna get frustrated, and I had to remind myself, listen, trust the process, trust the program, and let's just keep going. And so the dogs never really had a problem. I mean, they're just like, what are we doing today? But I had to retrain myself not to get frustrated, not to make them do something. And is it slower? Yes, it is. But that's the beauty of the program, because you solidify stuff before you move on. So as long as I kept my mindset right and followed the program, then they caught on good. They didn't have seen no problem. Now, I think the male dog, he liked it better because I had started him on my previous, the only way I knew. It's the only way I knew to do something. And I will say I never really did force fetch. I thought that was very unfair, inhumane to a dog. So I had always done hold conditioning, and where I picked that up, I'm thinking of years and years ago, I saw a video of Jeremy Moore and looked at some of his stuff. And so I done the hold conditioning with them. But with the male dog, it took a lot longer. I used y'all's program to do it with my 3-year-old way back, and I mean, she picked it up, boom. I mean, she was just on that, where a lot of people, I see the post on the Facebook, a lot of people struggle with the hold fetch. She had no problem. I mean, she picked that up. We just moved right on through that. But now a problem she has is something that probably a lot of people don't struggle with. It seems simple. To get her to run a straight line, she's going to loop out to the right about 10 yards off every time. I've run her in the lanes. I've run her beside. She does great in the lanes, great beside the fence. But you pull her back out, she's going to loop out. And I'm thinking, but we're going to get there. I mean, and I say that to the other people, don't get frustrated if you can't get through something, because here I am, one of the toughest things in your program, I think, is the fetch hold. To get for people to catch a hold to and the dog to catch on to. We blew through that. And here I got a dog that's probably got 300 retrieves under, that is listens to anything. She whistle stops, she casts good, but can't run a straight line. And I'm thinking, how can you do all this other stuff and you just won't catch on to the straight line, baby? But it's the dog, And that's frustrating.
I think that's encouraging for a lot of people to hear. I think they're probably like, okay, maybe I'm not doing too bad then. Maybe I'm not doing too bad. It's amazing how the training is just an emotional game, though. You get so close to it and you get so in the mix that if something goes wrong, it hurts. It doesn't feel good when things go wrong.
Yeah. But you got to just, again, remind yourself this is a marathon. I'm going to have this dog for 10 or 12 years. Don't push it. You got plenty of time to hunt with these dogs and me personally, it depends on how the hunting seasons fall, but I usually have never hunted a dog under a year old. That's just
That's good.
Personal. I think you have a younger dog probably don't understand a lot of the hunting situation. I think problems arise quicker because some stuff's not solidified. I mean, you got to realize you take a 9-10-month-old dog, even a 12-month-old dog, they ain't been alive but 10 months. They ain't been on this planet but 10 months. And the first month of that was with mama. The first month and a half was with mama. You really didn't get to doing stuff with them till you got them home 3 to 4 weeks in. So let's take 2 more months out. They ain't been really cognitive what's going on but 8 months. And we've been on, how old we are, we think, why ain't you getting this? And I think when you hunt them too young, I think you cause a lot of problems that you're going to have to train out later. Because we're all guilty of it. We let things slip during hunting season because we're too focused on the hunt than we are the dog. And when they're young like that, you give them that structure and then you start letting things slip. Whereas in my opinion, I hunt them at about 2 years old. I start hunting them. This was Oakley, like I said, she's finna turn 3. This was really her first hunting season. And I just done a lot of the training for 2 years before you put them in situations maybe they're not ready for.
Yeah, that's good. That probably served you pretty well. How was the first season?
It was good. It was good. Now, like I said, I use her for quail hunting. So I use her as a flush dog.
Okay.
And
nice.
There's struggles there. If somebody's going to do that, I would say solidify your obedience and the foundations tremendously. You take a dog out of a duck blind or a dove field that's sitting beside you, you shoot 1 or 2 birds, they wait, you send them on the retrieve, they come back. Quail hunting, she's flushing, there's 8 to 10 birds getting up in her face, there's 2 other bird dogs running around, there's 2 to 3 guys shooting. That's a lot going on. That's a lot of chaos. That's a lot of distraction. Now, is she done that perfect? No. We're really having to work on because what I got her doing, she flushes, then I set her to the whistle. Now, does she always do that? No. Depending on how many birds get up real close to her face. She forgets what she's doing sometimes. But
yeah, I would too if I was the dog.
That's what I mean, that's a lot of temptation. You got 10 birds getting up right there to your nose. She does it probably 70% of the time, like I want her. The other times, we still working on it. But again, it's a marathon. And however much you throw at these dogs, and I probably threw her in the fire quicker than I should have because I didn't do enough of bird work early. And so she's getting there. But again, she's just turned 3.
Was the quail hunting part of her first season as well, or did you do that a little earlier? Or you did that first?
That was this past season. I mean, I took on a few hunts just to let her see what's going on.
So y'all have done 300 birds then this past season?
Right.
Total.
Between dove and quail and ducks.
Oh, man. That's a really fun first season right there. That's awesome.
And most of that's quail, because, we'll put out 50 to 60 birds and she's going to retrieve 90% of them. and you'll run 2 hunts a day, so that's 100 retrieves. That, do they get all of them? No, but there's the potential there for. So most of it was quail. But then,
Wow.
and I live in South Georgia, so our ducks is limited. So we get what ducks
Yeah.
we can. So there's a very small percentage of that in this ducks that she's retrieved. But she
That's pretty
transitions
cool though.
good
That
from the upland when you go to the river in the beaver swamps. She handles it good.
she still stays steady. That's good.
Yeah, stays steady, and you can tell that watch their mind. And that was another thing I wanted to say about y'all's program. It taught early on how the dog learns. Watch your dog, see how it learns, and that's something I never knew. So you can tell it's a whole different mindset with her when we get on a quail jeep and she's wide open and real fast. She knows this is going to be fast paced. She knows when I carry her to a duck blind or the beaver swamp, I put her on her stand, it just clicks. She's like, okay, we're going to sit here because this is not quail hunting. And it took a little bit to make that transition, but if you work with them, they're smart enough to figure it out.
That's something that that's something that a lot of people, I think, we've had quite a few people ask us, hey, can you do both? Can you have an upland dog and a waterfowl dog, duck dog? And that's what I tell them. What you just said is let's do the duck dog stuff first, build that foundation. Then the upland stuff's pretty easy to kind of introduce after. But you got any tips for anybody specifically on that transition? I know a lot of people out there may be interested in that.
Do your foundations tremendously good. Your heel, because she has to walk it heel with me until I send her into flush. And if you can't get that right there correct, then it's hard to control them in a chaotic environment. So get your heel good, get your sit good, get your stay where I tell you to stay, and then the sit to the whistle. Those and that's basically anything you're going to do with a dog. If you can get a recall, a sit, and a stay, you can about do pretty much anything you want to from there. But if those are not solidified, you're gonna have trouble. And that being an upland or in a duck hole. I mean, if they can't be steady, you're gonna have problems.
100%. What's been one of your greatest moments so far with your pup?
Probably one of the. I think I posted the video on the Facebook. I mean, on the members website. We was hunting this past year on the river, and we was duck hunting. Shot some ducks, and one was there was a slew of water between me and the river, and then the river, and she saw one go down. But the second was a total blind retrieve, and it hit on the edge of the river and rolled down the river behind some logs, a little bit of brush and logs. And I said she did not see that bird at all, because there was several wood ducks come in, and we shot at them, and she saw some of them, and so I took her around there, lined her up, and I thought, here again, I'm thinking she's gonna run crooked. She's got this little thing about running crooked, but she done it perfect. She went through one body of water, went through the others. She run on past it, so I was able to. I handled her some, stopped her, called her back to me, casted her over. She found it in that brush pile, come back across the river, right straight to me, delivered the hand. And time she delivered it, I said, good girl. She jumped back on the stand over. I'm like, I didn't even tell her to go to play. She just jumped back up there like she's ready again. Like she looked at me like, hey, we've been doing this 1,000 times. And I tell people, I said, look, when you see, I don't want to compare it to your children. I mean, because they are dogs. But when you train that long and you see them pull that off, I mean, to me, the hunt was over. And my other guys were like, I was like, look, y'all don't realize what she just pulled off right there. She went on the total blind at about 50 yards through 2 bodies of water, found this duck, and then come back. I said, that was pretty awesome. And then we was quail hunting one day, and it is during quail season, it's rabbit season then. And some guys we got into some rabbits. And they said, can we shoot these rabbits? I said, yeah, shoot them if you don't do. And, they do out here, And they shot some rabbits. And I said, now, before y'all shoot these, y'all all going to clean them and eat them, right? They said, yeah, we just want some. I said, okay. So they had shot some rabbits, and I saw one where they hit it. I said, well, I'm going to see what she'll do. So I lined her up and sent her, and she went out there, picked it up, retrieved 2 or 3 rabbits to me. I'm like, this is pretty awesome right here. She ain't never seen her, had a rabbit in her mouth, but she retrieved them. And I thought, okay, this is working. This is going. So that's probably the 2 up to date, the 2 proudest, moments of her short career so far.
Oh, that's amazing. I love doing the versatile stuff too, where, these dogs really are incredible. They can do pretty much anything you want them to do, but that is amazing. Especially, 2 bodies of water back behind on our first season and all that. That's a very challenging retrieve. That's amazing.
Now, well, she may botch the next one, but she nailed that one, so that's all you can go on. So, hey.
Hey, that's right. Yeah, there's every retrieve's different. And, I've even had some retrieves that look easy and I think they're going to be easy. And then that kind of surprised me. It's like, man, why is the dog struggling with that? And then come to find out later, you'll see something else out there in the field that was a big distraction, like a weird scent or something that had been dead a while. And that like, oh man, that makes sense of why the dog is struggling. And then you get retrieves like that. They're like, oh man, this could be a little bit hard. And the dog just crushes it. So you just never know. You never know how it's going to work out.
That's right. And I will say, go ahead.
You go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. I picked up on something that somebody may want to watch. I've done a lot of long retrieves. And when I started into the casting, that part of it, and the back casting, when we start back short, I noticed that both of them ran past the bumper like just Mach 3 going past it. And I will caution people, don't get hung up all the time on doing long retrieves. Mix back in your short retrieves because we think, oh, they got that. And they do when you're doing a marked retrieve or you're doing a blind retrieve, because we want them to go further. We have the farther they go, it makes us feel better. But when we train a lot of that in, we skip way over the short retrieves again. And I noticed that even with when I was quail hunter, a bird that fell short, because all of them's blind. They in the bush, they in the weeds and all. She would blow past that son of a gun, and I'm like, but that was my fault. I trained her to go. So that's a tip too, to don't forget your basic stuff. Always put it back in there so that the dog is not anticipating we're going long, but to go out and start hunting right off the platform or right from heel, And that was something I had to back up and retrain.
Wow. That's a good tip. I think that and that principle as a whole, there's a lot of times that you got to be careful. Sometimes you don't know that you're training in something, and that was a perfect example of that. And then you'll figure it out. One day it doesn't take long to, now I see what I did there. You gotta work through that.
And so they'll pick it back up.
Let me ask you this. Oh, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just saying they'll pick it back up. Just back up. Realize you as the trainer made a mistake. We sometimes don't like to say we made a mistake, but okay, I caused this. So what do I need to do to fix it? Again, trust the program. If you got to, back up. We're not in a race. Now, we see a bunch of dogs on YouTube, or we see our buddy's dog, or and we're trying to get our dog there, but you're not in a race. It's you and your dog. So if you cause something, back up and train back through it, and then you'll get back where you were. Just trust the process is probably the biggest tip I can tell anybody. Trust the program, trust the process, and you will get there. And then there's a lot of stuff I keep having to do that I'm like, they're not perfect. They didn't pick it all up, so you go back. Is she where I want her to be? No, but I've not put everything in her yet either. I've not had the time. I've not put I'm saying it's just not that time. I've not had the time with her. But she'll get there.
Right. Yeah, and that's the right mindset. They'll always get there little by little if you put in the work. It just takes time and effort. Let me ask you this. As far as like, you're in are you in Tifton, Georgia?
Moultrie, Georgia.
It's just South Georgia.
Just I'm cool. About 40 miles south of Tifton. In Moultrie, Georgia.
Nice. What's been your experience with the community thus far? I know you said you posted up that video and stuff in there, and you've been with us for quite a few years here. I would just love to hear your thoughts on the community and how that has helped you on your training journey.
I like it because now I don't post a lot on there, but I read most all of them. And I pick up some tips through there, and I'll post some that if somebody's run into a problem. What I like about the community the best is you never hear anything negative as to what somebody did wrong. You can go on, there's other Facebook forums, and it just burns me up when a guy will come on there and say, hey, I got so-and-so, so this is happening. And then everybody starts bashing the guy. Well, you shouldn't have done this, or you should have. He knows he's got a problem. That's why I asked y'all. Quit, don't. But with the community y'all built, everything's positive. And I can't tell the number of times that I've seen on there, hey, it's a little much to get in here, give me a call. Somebody will post on there, give me a call. And they're willing to take the time because the person knows he's got a problem. That's why he's asking the question. He just can't get past, so he don't need somebody telling him what he done wrong or how bad he did it. Okay, I know I did it wrong. Now help me get through this. and I've just never seen nothing negative whatsoever on there. And like I said, I've probably seen a lot that say, hey, give me a call, I'll help you. And that's amazing in today's time. A lot of people thrive off other people's misfortune, or they think, well, my dog's better than their dog, or I like that in the community. There's like I say, I don't post a lot on there, but I do read all of them. And I pick up tidbits in there too. I'm like, okay, hey, I need to file that, keep that in the back of my mind in case I run into that. This is how these guys did it.
Yeah, there's not much room for pride in dog training. If you get prideful, you'll be humbled very quickly. It doesn't take much. Very quickly. But I love the community too. I love the people. And like you said, I think that's just a culture thing. The culture in Cornerstone is different. And, I really think a lot of times that's the way the same approach that people are taking with their dogs with a force. I'm going to force X, Y, Z to happen. Taking that same brunt approach on people. And I don't like that approach with people or with dogs. It's a much better if someone comes to the conclusion themselves, or the dog does themselves, than it is for someone just to beat it in their head. And you're right. You do see that on the internet land all the time, and it is a shame. It's It truly is amazing. In fact, everybody knows it, and people are scared to post because of it. I think, in Cornerstone, I'm glad we have people like you and other people that jump in and help, because people aren't afraid to post. And like, even if you've got a question that may not, that shows that you're green, that's okay. One of the best ways to learn is to ask questions. It's okay. You just need people in your corner, though, because if you ask a question to someone that's new, and it's an interesting question that could bring some heat, but you've got people that jump in and just encourage you, you're going to ask a question again. And otherwise, if you get hammered, you're probably not going to be asking a question again. You'll probably just be seeing if someone else asked the same question.
and it's like when I got into the program, when I run into the trouble with that male dog, you don't know what you don't know. So
100%.
how are you going to get by this? And if it's a crazy, and you're asking a question, and the first answer you get is from some guy that's been training 10, 15 years, and he bashes you for something, well, buddy, I just didn't know. I didn't know it. And because all dogs are different, and there's more experience with them, I've often said that, and I feel really inadequate even doing this podcast because I don't think you should give too much advice till you've trained about your 50th dog, you know what I'm saying? Because you ain't seen it all. This may work for you. It may work great. It's like I'm saying with Oakley. She picked up the fetch hole. We blew through that, and she'll fetch up anything. I can tell her fetch up a hammer off the floor. She'll go get it and bring it to me. But the next dog I get, we may be stuck there for 2 months, but they just, don't get it. And if you ask those kind of questions and you first get hammered on it, well, now you're frustrated. You don't know where to turn now. So now you're looking at the dog and you start taking your frustrations out on the dog, and training just went out the window. I mean, everybody shut down now.
Yeah.
But
I'm glad you're doing this podcast. I really am. I'm glad you're on here and sharing. And everybody has something valuable to offer, even if you've only trained one dog or two dogs. And it's, just hearing you talk, it's amazing what you've been able to learn. And, especially coming from a different training background and then using this, you seem to have had an amazing experience with it. I mean, this is 300 retrieves for a season, really nice blind retrieve, picking up versatile, rabbits, quail, duck. That's incredible. What an amazing story to get to share. And, it's amazing. So we're glad you're here. Glad you're sharing.
Thank you. Enjoy doing it. If I can help somebody, that's what it's about. And you don't do these things to brag, because I'll be the first to tell you, she's got a long way to go. And sometimes, and I will say that if you go out training sometimes they got a bad day at school. We have a bad day at work. We have a bad day at school. Sometimes they just got a bad day at school. Just get a win and get out of it. If it ain't nothing but a recall that they sit, you get that and just come back later. Don't keep forcing. They just have a bad day some days. And if you keep forcing, you're going to undo a lot of stuff to this point you've done. And just begin to recognize they're not going to get it today. I've took her out before, and my wife's even said, I come back in about 5 minutes. She's like, that didn't take long. I said, her mind wasn't in it. Her brain wasn't in it, and before I get frustrated, let's just quit. Let's just go play and do so. We'll go swimming or something. I care where they'll swim. And then a little bit later, we'll go back. But you got to learn to read your dog that, hey, they ain't got it today. They just ain't doing it. And that's us.
That's probably the best advice anybody can give. I mean, that's the mark of someone that has some maturity in training, is being able to set your own agenda aside. Say, you know what? I want to do this, but you don't, and that's okay. We can do it another day. That's hard to do.
We can do it another day.
That's maturity.
There's that marathon again. That, hey, they just not feeling it. Maybe they don't feel good that day. Maybe they whatever. We have bad days all the time, and we expect the dog not to have bad days. But they do. They're living beings, so they're not always at 100%.
Yeah. Well, Heath, it's been an honor to have you on this podcast. I think, as we kind of close this down, I think that was some great advice to share. What would be, I always like to ask this question at the end, what's kind of your last, what would be your advice to yourself getting started or to someone that's getting into this, that's never done this before? What would be like your one or two words of encouragement that you would share with them as we kind of close out?
If you get in a lab, remember you're getting a little pterodactyl for about the first 3 months. Don't get frustrated there. And then learn really, if they're starting your program, really take a lot of time on the part of how to read the dog, how the dog learns. And that'll save you a lot of frustration going forward. So how they learn, understand what kind of dog you got, and then trust the process. Just trust the program and go with it. That would probably be, different dogs are different, but when you get that lab, you're finna get a lab. I mean, a lab's a lab. So up until that first year, you got your hands full with a lab.